And welcome to the
Uh,
Big Bets on Campus podcast. I am your fearless leader today, Matthew Cox, joined by the rest of the three-man weed crew, Ky Mckeon and Jim Root. Every Monday morning, we are dropping another BBOC episode talking all things betting in the world of collegiate basketball. Today's episode, we're going to discuss some key games of the week, our typical six-pack of section spots, favorite favorites, live dogs, go dumpster diving in the trash. But first, let's take a glance at some of the big games coming up this week on Monday and Tuesday. Again, that's kind of our focus each week. If you guys are first time joining, Monday slates are hit or miss. Tuesday, we usually get a pretty good, a hefty slab of meat to chew on. But this week, some good Monday action, actually, both in the power conference and mid major realm. The big one on Monday in the power conference landscape is Providence at Marquette. And then we got a lot on Tuesday. But any take on the flatlining Golden Eagles, Jim? I know you're up there deep in the bowels of Cheesehead country. I know the pulse is probably starting to dissipate for the Eagles. Any take on this one? Kempom makes it Marquette +3 at home against the Kimmy English Fighting Friars.
yeah, I am recording live from northern Wisconsin, so you're getting hard takes here. I think both Providence fans and Marquette fans are psyched that you're highlighting them as a key game this week because I think both of them want to burn their programs down right now. Marquette, in particular, is kind of an embarrassment this year. This is a weird game. Providence has got the Jason Edwards thing that's going on right now. He's announced as like dealing with plantar fasciitis. But we know that our pal, Jordan Majeski, is whispering that maybe it's a little more to do with clashing with the coach kind of thing.
Ooh.
I don't know. Kai, to me, this is like Providence at least has some life. Like they're battling.
Mm.
They beat Creighton. They got out ahead early. They fought UConn really, really well. I'm not sure Marquette has much life in them. I'm not going to back Providence as a road favorite in Milwaukee, but you cannot force me to bet Marquette right now. I think this team is like completely decrepit and dead.
Marquette is just awful, fellas. I am done with this team, and I've said this actually throughout the year, but they enticed me back against DePaul. Led DePaul by 11 in the first half, led by 8 at half. DePaul 16-0 run to start the second half. There's no guts, Matthew. Marquette shot 41% from three. They won the turnover battle, and they got crushed in the boards. There's just no juice. The juice is totally gone from this program. Providence, like Jim mentioned, they showed life without Jason Edwards. Their freshmen Jones and Vax are legit. They beat Creighton. I'd take anybody against the Eagles right now, Matt. 4-14 and 1 against the spread. Marquette is this season.
Kempom has it, like I said, +3. What if I told you it was pick? And in some cases,
Wow.
trending toward Marquette favored in this one. Was that?
I think Marquette has taken money in like majority of their
Yeah,
games, at
I
least
think I mentioned this
recently.
before. They're under the hood metrics are like not all like in terms of their shot volume stuff. They just are so bad at finishing, and they're so bad at I think
Yeah, they don't have
bothering other
hearts.
finishers at the rim. So
Yeah. I'd lean Providence pretty hard, Matt, at pick.
I would too, but no player for me. Let's go to Tuesday. We got I would say three big bops at the top of the slate. And then there's I think four or five others. I was trying to use Ken Palm's thrill score of like 70 as a good cutoff, but it drops off after kind of this top eight. But the big three: Vandy at Arkansas, Texas Tech at Baylor, Georgia at your Missouri Tigers. Ken Palm has all three of these around ±1. So I would be shocked to see some of these spreads strip too far away. So I think just fun to handicap. We like handicapping these games that are close to pick them. You tend to get in my opinion, a truer result. Kai, any of these three stick out to you? Action and the one I'm looking at is Arkansas at home. Kind of fell
Yeah.
on the I fell for the trap of trusting Arkansas away from Fayetteville. They are a different team at home. I will probably be backing them against Vanderbilt here in this one.
It's an interesting game. Both teams off a loss. Vandy off two straight losses. Arkansas hasn't lost a game all year at home, which, to your point, tough place to play. I'm very excited for this game. Two top 10 offenses, lots of scoring. I just don't think Arkansas has enough size to take advantage of Vanderbilt like Texas did, like Florida did. So I actually kind of lean the other way. Vanderbilt getting back off the schneid and taking a win here. I'll let Jim speak on our Missouri Tigers, but that's an impossible team to understand right now. They're hot and cold. I think this is a game they typically win. If I'm a Mizzou fan and I know the history, and I am, and Georgia, of course, off a big win certainly helps the spot there. Georgia, uglier team on the road, Jim, for sure. Up tempo game. I'm just worried about Missouri turnovers. and what actual team we're going to get out there.
Hi, I'm doing it. I'm going to bet our Tigers here.
Ah,
I
okay.
have
You
to.
brave man.
I think the spot is great. I think you get them back home after the road loss. It's a little like after they lost to Ole Miss. They came home and took care of Auburn. I think they can do the same thing against Georgia. They are a better defensive rebounding team than Dennis Gates typically has. I'm not going to call them good, but against Surreal in the paint, I think they can at least hold up a little bit with Phillips, with Mitchell. So, Matt, I'm going to lock in Mizzou up to -1. And I'm going to bet these other two games too. This is a rarity where I love the headliners on the slate. Like I'm going to bet all of them. I'm taking Texas Tech at Baylor.
Yeah, me
I
too.
think Baylor is like kind of panicking in a little bit of deep end water right now and can't really figure out what they're doing. Like Cameron Carr's having a great season, going to be a first round draft pick, and the team still is bad. The James Najee thing hasn't helped them. Texas Tech is really good. They took care of BYU over the weekend, which I thought was really impressive for a short-handed team. So I'm gonna ride Texas Tech on the road. I'm not scared of that Baylor home environment. It's a relatively new arena, like in the last 3 years, and it's not super imposing. Houston just demolished them there. And then in the Vandy at Arkansas game, I feel like I should back Vandy because the spot, having lost two straight games in the SEC. But Matty, I like Arkansas at home. I just think in front of Bud Walton, this team has really showed up this year. Some like headlining performances where it looks like maybe they're the best team in the SEC. I don't think they are. I think that is Florida, but Arkansas can play to that level. And I think we're seeing the cracks, the leaks a little bit in the Vandy very well designed roster, but the interior is still a little cushiony. And Florida took advantage. Texas took advantage. I think Arkansas can do that too, a team that we like to refer to as a get off the bus team. I like Arkansas there, Matthew. So I'm betting all three of these games.
Yeah, Arkansas, they out rebounded Georgia 16-9. I think they dominate the glass. The problem is they turned it over 14 times. Acuff and Richmond were sloppy with it, and that's where Vandy can make you pay. I think at home that's where that flips though. So yeah, I like Arky. That's the only bet for me. Any action in the other big games on Tuesday? We got Purdue at UCLA going out west. Man, Mick Cronin not vibes meter is like a 0 out of 10 as they head back west. Kind of a recurring theme for these West Coast Big Ten and ACC teams. Obviously heading Midwest and East and then going back after getting shellacked. NC State. Speaking of bad vibes, I don't know what to say about. Well, I mean, Will Wade, I'm sure is about. I can't imagine how hard that practice was yesterday, or I guess tomorrow. NC State at Clemson. Ky, Clemson's just been nails. SMU going to Wake. Boopy Miller against his former team. Little revenge angle there. Auburn at Ole Miss, two SEC teams I don't really trust at all. And then Seton Hall at St. John's, which I kind of think is a good live dog. I'm going to save that. But I have no bets in these. I did give Wake a good hard look, though. That was my only tease.
Yeah, I'd lean Wake. I don't want to bet against the Will Wade team coming off a loss. So even with the Clemson environment, I'm thinking lean towards NC State there. Texas Tech, Jim mentioned he's betting it. I am too. I'm betting Texas Tech at Baylor. I don't think anybody stops JT Toppin. Your other game mats are nice. I agree. The Ole Miss Auburn game is very tough to figure out. I don't think Ole Miss is good, and yet here they sit at what 3-2 in the SEC, and they're somehow alive for the tournament with 3 straight wins. I just don't really believe in this team, despite how good of a coach Chris Beard is. I agree. Seton Hall though, a little bit of a live dog candidate against St. John's. This is a good one that St. John's might have a letdown game.
Yeah, Matt, we'll get to live dogs and I'll let you holster Seton Hall for that. But if it's 9 at Ken Palm, if that's close to double digits, I want a Shaheen Holloway team getting double figures against a team with no point guard. Like they're going to force a lot of turnovers against that St. John's offense. So I like Seton Hall there. Matt, I'm going to do the disgusting thing here and back NC State. I know that's gross. I think our guy Stuckey would be proud of me for the terrible spot or the it just feels like I'm in the trash compactor by taking the team that just lost at home to Georgia Tech against Clemson, who's been like legit really good, took care of Miami at home over the weekend. But I think NC State goes in there and gets a win. It's going to be this weird dichotomy of like, are they good? Are they bad? What do I make of NC State, a team that loses at home to Georgia Tech and then goes on the road to Clemson and wins? I think NC State finds a good shooting performance on the road at Clemson and wins there. And Matt, I think I'm going to take Wake. I've kind of enjoyed watching the Demon Deacons this year. They've got a lot of skill. They spread the floor a little bit. SMU has that too. I just don't really trust SMU on the road. Their guards are really good, but they're kind of leaky inside at times. Wake's played a lot of like stressful, close games in the ACC. I'll back them here. I think they get the win against SMU. I'm staying far away from Purdue UCLA though. Far, far away.
Yeah. At the Clemson NC State game, despite losing at home to Georgia Tech, NC State only 4 spots lower than Clemson and KenPom has that spread at -4. I bet Clemson's probably closer to a 5, maybe a 6 point favorite. But I do think Jim's sentiment about people still respecting and liking NC State in the market probably maybe keeps that around 5 points, which I don't know. I think if you're a bet NC State, I might just be more inclined to go money line, but I have nothing there. Let's go to mid-major action Monday. 8:10, Big Sky, Ivy, Colonial, all
Coastal.
Coastal. Thank you. The artist formerly known as the Colonial. Bothers me still. And a lot of these games early, folks. So get up, get after the cap early because college football national title game has shifted the timing of these games. So it's kind of some weird spots. Might get some random
It's also
results.
a holiday, Matthew.
It's also a holiday. Shouts to Martin Luther King. But Jim, obviously, in this household, it's the Hoosiers is the primary holiday of recognition. Yep. So the Revolutionary rivalry. Shouts to George Mason against George Washington. It's at George Mason, Ky. St. Joe's goes to VCU. Going to be catching somewhere around 2 touchdowns. And then Big Sky will get to at the spots. An interesting, unique spot in the schedule we'll talk about later. Ivy, there's some action. Have you guys looked at any of those? Or the Coastal, I did not. I actually like, I have a pretty hard lean to St. Joe's here in the A10. I think they're playing a lot better. I think Steve Donahue has sort of re-grasped this roster after he kind of, took it over late from Billy Lang, and then they had to rejigger some of the rotations without Deuce Jones, which has frankly been probably a positive. They are very athletic, and they are very good defensively. I think they actually match up well with VCU. I hate fading anyone going into the Siegel Center, but this VCU team's just been erratic, and I think doesn't justify a 2. I think it'll be probably closer to 12 if I'm projecting where the market's going to fall on this one, Ky. But of these kind of mid-majors I looked at, I will only have one, and that'll be St. Joe's, probably 12 or no lower than 12. At
Boy,
VCU.
hey, good luck to you. That doesn't sound fun to me, but you might be onto something. The George Washington game, hey, speaking of Colonials, formerly known as, they intrigue me against George Mason, and actually, really, I like the other side. I like Mason because GW is so gutless. It's exactly what we thought this team was going to be. Super talented, should be among the elite in the A10, and they just lose it at home to Davidson. It's kind of like their weird loss against Delaware earlier this season. And George Mason is a polished team under Tony's skin. Castro has the advantage inside over Alan Schbach, who's been fantastic for George Mason. But their ability to get to the line and kind of live there, I think, is a difference maker. And they don't make mistakes. They don't turn the ball over. So I lean towards George Mason. Obviously, Jim, no travel for George Washington. These schools are like right next to each other. But I lean towards the Patriots in this game.
Yeah, Ky, I'm sitting here with SLEW A10 futures that are very good right now, but I need George Mason to lose at some point. So I'm hoping George Washington can go in there and get the job done. That one I'm a little spooked by. Matt, you're taking St. Joe's at VCU. I'm also tipping my cap to you. I find you very brave for that. We'll get to the Big Sky. Matt, can I talk Tuesday Mac? Am I stepping too far out of bounds?
No, absolutely not. Go for it. I had one take on that. Go there. Get there.
I'm gonna be the psychopath that fades Miami of Ohio, a team that is sort of kissed by God right now. They had 2 buzzer beaters in a single game. They had a buzzer beater to go to OT against Buffalo and a buzzer beater to win the game in OT. I just can't buy that they're this good. And on the road at Kent State is I think the perfect spot to fade them. It feels a little like catching a falling knife, as our guy Stuckey likes to say. Like, why am I betting against Miami of Ohio with as hot as they are, with the way they're shooting the ball? The offense is a freaking flamethrower right now. But I'm going to do it. I think Kent State with Gillespie in the paint, I think he probably puts up like 22 and 17 in this game. I think he's dominant around the rim. And Senderoff is a really, really good coach. So I will back Kent State. Obviously, Miami of Ohio, emotional letdown, very much a possibility too with that OT game over the weekend against Buffalo. I will leave Akron Buffalo alone, Matthew, but Kent State, Golden Flashes, it's 2 at KenPom. I will probably just take it money line wherever it is.
Yeah, if I can jump in there, Matt, on the Kent State thing. I want to take them so badly, but I made the mistake of watching Kent State against Toledo. And Miami definitely had it finally fell against Buffalo against the spread, but they were 7-1 against the spread before that in the last 8 games. Kent should have covered against Toledo, those punks. It's not a disciplined team. Sion Medley is very talented, but so loose with the ball, almost
Yeah,
casual
it's an erratic
when he
team.
brings it up. But Gillespie rocks. I just trust Miami a lot more. They're not going to get smoked on the glass. Gillespie has an advantage over everybody, and they're a much smarter team. They're definitely going to get Kent State in foul trouble because they hack like crazy, those golden flashes. So I applaud Jim for his bravery. This game goes towards Miami, Ohio in the betting market, which we've kind of seen every single week. Maybe I'm considering it, but I'm staying away.
Yeah, Wolfork is just a monster up front. He played his season high against Buffalo.
That's
Obviously,
the
overtime helps.
Yeah. Okay.
Only 2 fouls. He's been awesome at staying out of foul trouble. Like the whistle will be huge because if they can get him in foul trouble, Kent State, like I think they can absolutely mash on the boards. Of note that Kent State lost 3 times last year to Miami, including the conference tournament semis. So a little triple revenge, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing year after. Some continuity on both. I mean, obviously Miami's like
Yeah.
the same team, but Kent's got some key pieces
Is
back
that is
too.
that
So
revenge or bad matchup? That's what you got to like
or bad
figure
matchup.
out. Like if they just not
Um,
beat that team? Yeah, that's
I'm not going to fall for it. I actually kind of lean harder toward Akron going to Buffalo at the other part of that. The other team that was on the losing end of that terrible, the back-to-back buzzer beater thing. I'm 0-2 backing Akron this season. I feel like I've mushed this team sort of with Mizzou. I think I'm 0-2 backing Mizzou. So I maybe think I should just learn my lesson here. But I think Buffalo is good, but people are just realizing if you can contain free tag, you can kind of shut their water off. And I think Akron's just so deep and so versatile. I think they go on the road and make a statement here. Not an official bet, but that's just where my gut instinct leans there. Any take on the other, I would say, Big Mac battle of Tuesday?
Not really. Freitag, Matthew. Freitag. It means Friday in German. Just
Freitag. Okay.
yeah. There you go.
yeah. Get your
No
German down,
take.
buddy. Come on.
So Tuesday, yeah.
Freitag's
So
like
Tuesday's not his day.
our
Tuesday's
yeah,
not his day. Good.
No.
not his day. Arguably the
Tuesday.
best player in the league. Yeah. I
Let's
just
move
would
to
say,
live.
Matt,
Okay,
like
Jim. Yeah.
them off the Miami of Ohio OT, like are they due for a letdown? They've lost 3 in a row in MAC. It's either letdown or it's like this is your rallying performance. We're back home after that road OT loss. We're gonna draw a line in the sand against the co-leader or co-best team in the conference. I don't have enough of a strong take there. So I wish you best of luck if you do end up officially backing it.
It just kind of stinks that Buffalo got really like their schedule is so front loaded. Ohio, Kent State, Miami, Akron, bang, 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 bang in a row. So tough. I mean, I don't think we ever really thought this was like a legit top 14, but that was their chance to kind of show it, and they're 0-3 in their uh, first 3 bites at the apple. All right, live dogs of the week. I'll be honest, I did a little bit of some back testing, some analysis. I was going to bring it up in the spotlight section, but I'm worrying about the viability of this section going forward. The money lines for underdogs has always been kind of skewed toward the favorites, just because most books line it that way, and most people tend to prefer betting underdogs, as we all do. Still doesn't mean you can find value, but this year, especially like the last 3 years, the ROI curve is really starting to turn against us. So I just want to kind of preface that, like I've had really bad time this year betting money lines in general, other than like week one, and it's been a sort of continued trend, and it's a deeper dynamic I'm noticing, Ky. So not to go off on a kind of a soapbox of macro trends, but
Do you
I did
mean
notice that. I spent some time. I wanted to warn our listeners as I tread lightly into choosing live pups of the week.
do you mean is it a pricing thing or is it less upsets? Is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I mean there are fewer upsets in the money line underdog range, and the pricing's always been they've always shaded the true outcomes toward favorites. So you've always been betting kind of at a sort of at a disadvantage, but just in general, I think some of us do it the higher scoring uptick in scoring is better for favorites. So it's just fewer opportunities. Generally, just all things considered, you would like lower scoring games as an underdog. Fewer possessions allows you to kind of get into that variance part of the curve. So that tail end of the curve, I should say. All that nonsense aside, we got winners, baby. All right. I guess last week we didn't with Jackson State. And then
Jackson State.
Buckyball got ruined in double OT against Tennessee. Texas A&M, though, I think that might just be a good auto underdog money line back, and then maybe fade as favorite on the invert. Just such a variant team. It's insane. Monday, I had one. You guys maybe had some other options. Columbia going to Yale. Yale's probably -9. So you get pretty good value if you like Columbia, who is like the only other team in this league that can probably stand up to Yale physically on the glass. Columbia's got a little bit of value because they got beat by a bajillion by Harvard 2 games ago, dropped to, I don't know, 10 or plus spots in Ken Palm, off a couple of losses. I think I might dabble Columbia money line. Any interest in that or anything else on Monday stand out to you guys?
I don't hate it, man. Obviously love Kevin Hovde, their new coach from Florida, but I don't think Yale's going to lose another game in this conference. I think the Princeton game pretty much well woke them up. You saw that they've been beating Cornell by like 30. I I I don't think they're going to lose another game in the Ivy, so I'm passing politely on that one, Matthew. I am intrigued a little bit by your Seton Hall take, which we discussed earlier, of
Yeah, let's go
course.
to Tuesday. Yep, we got a few on
Yeah,
Tuesday. Go, Kai, break it down.
intrigued, intrigued.
I'm going Hall, I think here.
Well, intrigued by Hall. Jim mentioned, the pressure, certainly, the defense against St. John's ball handling is definitely a thing. And I'll add one more before Jim can speak here. Colorado, I do like this one. My antennas are up. You wrote this down on the outline here. This is a classic Kansas letdown game. After winning convincingly a couple times, now you're going to altitude against Colorado. Tough place to play. They nearly just beat Texas Tech at home, and they're no pushover this season, both from a talent perspective and certainly a size perspective. So I like Colorado there. I will be taking them with the points and considering a little sprinkle myself.
Kai, I think you're really onto something there with that one. I think
Yes,
everybody is currently smooching Kansas's butts,
they are.
and they're all about how good the Jayhawks look right now. And Darren Peterson is scoring a point per minute every time he's out there. He looks a little healthier. Kansas had 2 incredible home performances. Now they go to altitude. Remember last year they went to altitude and they lost by like 1,000 points and had a team meeting, and it was a whole mess of a thing last year. So I think you might have something there. And I think it's linked to the St. John's team too, where like St. John's is playing way better lately, and they're starting to get a little bit of momentum in the media, and that's kind of when I want to step in and fade the team. So I think both of those are really good looks. Colorado used to have the home advantage. Seton Hall, Matt, I love that matchup for them. Like they just junk things up. They're so good defensively with the like top 2 in the country in block rate and steal rate. I think they're going to make it really, really hard on St. John's to score, who I like. They're playing their best lineup now. Patino has switched his starting lineup, and they've been kind of rolling since they made that move. They're awesome on the offensive glass, but Seton Hall is going to make it really tough to score around the basket, and I think that's going to make things difficult on St. John's. So I'm gonna back Seton Hall on the spread. As you discussed, Matthew, live dogs are a little trickier. I like just taking the points rather than trying to fire in money lines. You're more Matty money lines. I defer to you there. The one I really like on the money line is the NC State that I mentioned. I'm gonna back them both spread and money line. I think they can win at Clemson.
Yeah, actually, the one reason that I probably shouldn't like the Seton Hall money line, just if two teams that don't shoot a lot of threes, I think you tend to prefer matchups where there's a lot of threes taken both ways. So that's kind of where, again, we're talking about the margins of edge here, but still just a matchup profile I don't love. To go back to Jim's point, KU lost at Utah and got blown out by BYU back-to-back game. They did actually win at Colorado the next week. So they did win at in Boulder last season. And then last year, I believe Colorado as a home team was like,
Well,
nah,
they're worse.
the way what?
They just weren't that good last year,
They just weren't that
Colorado.
good. You're right. So I don't want to use that as a
They
comparison.
did
But
they won 3 Big 12 games though outright against
later in the
some
year,
solid
they
teams.
started to look better, and like that became kind of a feisty home dog spot. Again, we thought that'd be a bigger deal with teams for the first time making that trip in the Big 12. But and then Minnesota at Ohio State, that was the other one I looked at. It's like, man, Nico Medved special against a team that we all don't really trust at Ohio State, who just got I would call fraudulent win over UCLA. So probably get good value with that one too. Favorites, we move along. Last week we were, I guess, 1-3. Ball State was weirdly good against Akron. Ball State's kind of been annoyingly feisty. I guess you're getting amazing value at this point because they're so bad. Loyola battled against George Mason. Bradley OT against Evansville also lose, but Nebraska's unstopped. So we should just make this the Nebraska section. There was no good candidates on Monday. Tuesday, I think two I'm looking real hard at. I got Iowa against Rutgers and Colorado State against Air Force. Iowa I think they're kind of starting to maybe figure it out, and they've just been awesome this year against teams that they're better than. Like I know Rutgers is not some of the non-con mid-majors they've played, but they sort of are in the same talent crop, and that could get ugly in a crock-pot fashion. And then Air Force, for those who didn't see, Joe Scott, their head coach, suspended for, I guess, potential player abuse. Now, I will say Air Force did, they covered annoyingly by a half point against Nevada over the weekend, but man, they just got no talent, and I think that could eventually just go really far south really quickly. Colorado State healthier, but their front line still is kind of a little bit brittle with Mba and Jorgensen. Ky, any thoughts on any favorites, those two, or any other ones you
Well, yeah,
eyed on this schedule?
I'm in on the Rams, Colorado State, Matt. Yeah, and Bimba has been back 3 games, and Jorgensen came back last game off the
Last
bench.
game,
So I
yeah.
expect him to get a little ramped up here. Yeah, Air Force is horrible. They're going to get smoked. I think they're the worst offense and defense by far in this league on both ends in conference play. But worst rebounding team on both ends, worst ball handling team, worst free throw shooting team. I think Colorado State has their way, and they're kind of in need of a bounce back game, right? Of like a get right. Okay, we're finally healthy. They've had 2 tough road losses to Fresno and Boise. Now it's time to come home and show they can really smoke an inferior team, which I think they can.
Yep, Ky, that's exactly what I was lining up with Colorado State. They 2 tough road losses. Now they're back home against the worst team in the league that just suspended its coach that has basically no talent. I am all on board Colorado State up to like minus 20 or so. A similar spot, Matt, for favorites that I'm going to go to war with here is Iowa State. I've got a top 5 to 10 team in the country that just lost 2 straight road games, looked pretty bad at Kansas and Cincy. Now they get UCF at home, who's kind of a volatile team. I think they battled well against Arizona, but now they go on the road to Hilton Magic. I think Iowa State is a pretty viable bet. It's 13 at Ken Palm on Tuesday. I'll take that up to 14. I just think that's such a home run spot for like really good team off 2 road losses back home. Give me the Cyclones, Matthew.
Yeah, I have that one too on my card, Jim. Trying to look closer at Iowa State's 2 losses. Like you're kind of worried, like, okay, it's a bounce back spot, but was there something under the hood I missed with Iowa State in those games? And I think the Kansas game was like, no, that just, I think you got that was the ultimate KU spot. And a very clear Fog Allen type effort. And then Cincinnati's just a tough matchup, man. Like that's a desperate team that's got a little bit healthier. I'm not saying they're good, but I found a way to forgive that one as well. And I know UCF's been better this year, but I think that's one where their guards are just going to be swallowed up by Iowa State's pressure. I expect a vaunted Ames crowd at Hilton Magic, so I'm with you on that one. That's a play for me. Let's move to the spot section. Last week we talked about trying to pick off Wisconsin after their Michigan win, and then Wisconsin kind of a miracle comeback at Minnesota, and they come back home. They actually beat Rutgers too. They didn't cover against Rutgers, but Wisconsin quietly 5-2 in the Big Ten, 4 straight wins. So maybe I need to reassess my Wisconsin take. But I also talked about Oklahoma last week, but man, they just might stink. Florida just totally ate them up. Also, partly a Florida story and where they're kind of trending right now, truly back to their elite status. But as I kind of teased early up at the first section, Big Sky has this unique spot that I used to look at, but it kind of changed last year. So usually it's a Thursday, Saturday league, Ky, where that's kind of they have the travel partners, and that's sort of how the road schedule shakes out. But once a year, I believe every team will do a 3-game swing, Thursday, Saturday, and then Monday. That is the case again this year. This used to be a pretty good edge, but last year they switched it up where the team who plays 3 games actually gets to stay at home. So it used to be where the team that made the 3 and 5, I guess, was also traveling, but then they'd sort of tip the edge back in neutral. So there's only a 3 and 3 against the spread last year. I think it was like 5 and 1 the 2 years before. But it's worth noting Montana State at Northern Colorado, who is just weirdly bad all of a sudden, and then Montana at Northern Arizona, who is not very good as expected and also not healthy. I know you're pissed off at your Grizz for failing to get it done in the Brawl of the
really
Wild.
am.
Do you think they bounce back at altitude there in where is a Flagstaff? Thank you.
Flagstaff, yeah, I tend to lean their way. In the I'm going to go with the other one real quick. Montana State and Northern Colorado have played this year already.
Yes, correct.
Which I like to look at, but Montana State dominated in game one. They won by 14. I think it comes down to shooting in every single Bobcat game. They're the number one 3-point percentage in the Big Sky, but no one's hit any threes against Northern Colorado. They're getting probably a little bit lucky on that end, and still 1-5. I can't believe they're 1-5 in the Big Sky. They're a favorite in KenPom. That tells you how tight this league is. They just lost to Sac State. I kind of leaned them getting back here, Matt, but I'm a little bit hurt from the Montana loss. Jim, do you have a Grizz or a Bobcat opinion?
I really wanted to back Northern Colorado, Ky. That was like, oh, 1-5. I think this team is competent. Montana
Mm.
State just won their rivalry game. But I think you kind of touched on the things that are keeping me off it. The first meeting with Montana State shot 66% inside the arc, and
Yeah.
Northern Colorado shot 46, like a very clear, sustainable inside the arc advantage. And then, yeah, the 3-point variance and regression that's probably coming to Northern Colorado's defense. I can't quite get there. I think it's a really good spot for them back home off 2 road losses. I feel like I'm a repeated just saying that over and over here. It's a good spot for them, but I think because of some of the underlying numbers, it's not worth backing. Maddie, there are a couple spots on Tuesday I'm interested in, but if you want to finish up the Big Sky discussion before I get there, you let me know.
No, I don't because I have no action, so there's no use in discussing it. Jim, lead us with your spots. I think I only have one in terms of a spot. We did talk about my Iowa State one, but yeah, kick it off, Jim.
Yeah, it's similar to Iowa State, where you get good teams coming home after losses, where I think it's kind of the get right sort of situation. I think that's a common theme in college sports. You get a team back home after a tough road performance. Typically, you get them to play well. First one is Utah State. They lost at Grand Canyon. Really tough road environment there. Now you get UNLV at home. I know UNLV is talented, but they've had a lot of personnel issues. Like lineups are all kind of over the place. Their performances are all over the place. High variance type of team. Utah State offense is lethal. So Ky, I think I'm going to back the Aggies there. It's 17 at KenPom. I think you get kind of the vintage Utah State performance. I said on our Saturday Best Bet show that Utah State is way up there and way down there, excuse me, nationally in consistency
Mm.
per Haslametrics. And they had kind of the dud performance at Grand Canyon. I think you get like the fireworks
Yeah.
explosion here back at home against UNLV. Great home court there. The other one, I'm not going to back officially, but I think Miami, Florida is in a pretty good spot. They just lost to Clemson, team that Miami's been really good atop the ACC, been in the mix, just picked up their first loss there at Clemson. Now they're back home, Florida State, who has no interior fortitude at all. Like they just get mauled at the rim. And they're 18th in the ACC in 2-point percentage defense. Now you got Renault coming to town. You got Ernest Uday, Shelton Henderson getting downhill in transition. I'm tempted by Miami. It's just a little too high for me, Ky, even in a high total game. But I do think that's a good spot for the Hurricanes.
I agree,
Yeah,
Jim. I'm still a
I
little
agree.
burned. I feel
I
burned by
agree.
them after backing against Clemson. Kai, I will throw one more at you.
Please do.
Indiana playing Michigan.
Mm.
Michigan coming back from the West Coast. Tempted to back IU here. I don't
Really?
really like my Hoosiers. I'm tempted to. I probably won't. I
Well,
got a
Michigan.
feeling Dusty May is going to go into Indiana, and I think he wants to show those fans who love and adore him, and I think deep down wish that they hired him, that he was the right choice after kind of a sluggish stretch here for the dominant Wolverines. But again, coming back from the West Coast this year, I think it's 2-0. Midwest teams coming back from the West Coast trip to play another Midwest team. Again, 2 games, but
Yeah.
you could argue it's a good spot for IU off just playing the dentist trip that is a Ben McCollum Iowa game. But that
Yeah,
was the other one
just
I had written down. What else? What's on your list to
no,
cover?
nothing else really. Indiana just had no chance against Iowa. That kind of keeps me off. I know Michigan hasn't covered in like 5 games.
Yep.
They've it's almost like they've trended. It's a parabola. They're back to where they were, which is still very, very good in the preseason, but no chance against Michigan State, no chance against Iowa was Indiana. That Nebraska defeat appears to have broken them, at least temporarily. I'm not sure they're getting that back against Michigan. Now, you could actually make an argument that it's like, okay, Michigan might be way too inflated right now in markets and analytics because of their unreal stretch that clearly they don't have the same level. So a 16-point favorite against Indiana is on the border right now, but they're a tournament team caliber team, right? Like they're not a Rutgers. 16 points is a ton for a conference game. That's I think the point for IU.
Yeah, here's
I
where
like
market perception matters here. Michigan winning so far through Big Ten play, 7 games. Every team's played 7 games basically in the Big Ten. Winning by an average of 15 points a game. They are 2-5 against the spread with a cover margin of -5 points versus Nebraska winning by an average of 14 points a game and covering by like 2 touchdowns. So I mean, market matters, perception matters relative to the baseline you've built in non-con. Michigan's probably still on the overvalued side.
I want to bet IU there. I'm really tempted.
Ooh.
I think Michigan is like not very good right now. I think Dusty May would say that to you. He would say we're just not very good. Oregon didn't have Biddle or Shellstad, and
Shocking.
Michigan was losing at halftime. Like this team isn't very good right now.
Yeah.
Like they were in the zone for a while. They looked really good. They blew out everybody, and that they just lost that mojo. Like sometimes Ky, we've been on basketball teams.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just in the zone as a team. You're connected. Everything's working. And Michigan is, for whatever reason, fallen out of that. And Indiana's lost 3 games in a row. I just think it's like a good buy low, and you're still somehow selling high on Michigan, despite that they haven't played very well recently. I think Indiana can hang despite being a little soft inside, just because of the defensive structure that DeVries has. They're not going to let Michigan like live at the rim. They're going to force some jumpers. I think 16, maybe this gets bet down. I think the market's kind of been mostly betting against Michigan, except the Oregon game because Oregon
Yeah.
didn't have any players left. I think IU is a pretty decent look there. I'm not gonna add it to the card because my card is getting overflowing right now, but I lean IU pretty hard there.
Yeah, I mean, here my Michigan take is they're an elite team. They're not a historic team, and that's where they're being priced right now. And you can just the numbers kind of back that up. Um, anything I think I'm good. I only have 3 on my official card now. I'm fine with that. I'm gonna keep it tight.
Trash
Um,
section, Matthew.
let's get to the trash, and then we'll take a shower after we sign off here. I do want to highlight in our spotlight section a couple as inspired by the Michigan conversation. Some surprising conference ATS darlings and duds. We're, like I said, about 6, 7, 8 games in. Probably some surprising names that might. Long Beach State, Kai. I bet you didn't think of Long Beach State as a covered darling, but they have been such in the Big
I had an
West.
idea
Yeah,
from fading
they.
them.
Yep, I've been on the wrong end there as well. But quickly, a trash trip. I actually wrote down 2 teams not in the SWAC. I'm just tired of bullying on the SWAC, and I'm pissed off that I endorsed Mississippi Valley State, and that didn't go well. Drexel at Towson. 2 teams that don't like to play fast and scoring as a chore. Um, you guys have any take in this game? I kind of like Drexel. I just wanted to bring it up because I do think Drexel has been sneaky good lately. They're kind of always deceptively solid under Spiker, and I know Towson has gotten off the mat to some degree, but I still think they have real offensive issues, and it's just a matchup. I think Drexel, in what should be an ugly, ugly game, keeps it close. Kempom has it only 5. I hope the
Yeah.
number's actually like 6 or 7, and I can back the Dragons.
This is going to be 60, maybe less possessions. That's how it's
Yeah.
been the last few years. Last like 6 games, it was overtime, Towson by 6, 3-point game, overtime. Last year was like a 1-point game in overtime. These teams always play each other close. Last year, the second game was 54 possessions. It's just going to be a slog, a perfect trash section. So Matthew, I would agree. I lean towards a dog at that pace. And hey, Dragons 3-0 last 3 games. They've been looking a lot better.
Yeah, let's just do a little spotlight,
Yeah,
some ATS darlings and duds, as we'll call them. Top of leaderboard, Kai Clemson. What else new? They're always good in conference play, it seems like. They travel well, they take care of their business. Here's a team I love and haven't backed enough is Mercer. The Fighting
Yeah.
Lion Raiders are 6-0 against the number. Nebraska obviously has been amazing. How about DePaul, 6-1 against the spread? Shouts to Chris Holtman buying rounds at the local watering hole here in Lincoln Park, the man of the people. Um, Kai, your Jacks are 8-1, 9 games in the Southland area. Southland just piles up
SFA
games.
Jacks. Yeah,
The
SFA.
SFA Jacks,
Yeah.
thank you.
hmm
Very apt clarification. New Mexico 6-1. And then FAU, a team I like under John Jacobs, the other one I wanted to mention at 5-1. A bunch of teams at 4-1, a couple others at 5-1, but that's kind of the top of the totem pole, along with the aforementioned Long Beach State Niners. It's 6-0 against the spread.
6-0, and one of those games was a last second cover against Bakersfield that I happened to be on, and they just beat CSUN Matt last game, which I know we were both on. Yeah, those teams you mentioned. Sometimes it's frustrating looking back at records for teams, 6 or 7 games in the conference play, and you're like, wow, I really like that team preseason. It makes a lot of sense. I should have been on them most of those games, and you realize you weren't. And that's what makes betting a little bit tough, right? If you're high on a team, high on a good team, you better be a lot higher than the market, and that's tough to do. I do think Mercer might be the best team in the SoCon, though. I'm glad you highlighted them.
Yeah, it's a flat league, but I think they got some talent. They do. On the other side of the ledger, some really bad teams against the spread. Cornell, UTSA, Memphis are the only three teams without a win against the number, but they've only played 4, 5, 3, 4, and 5 games respectively. Man, UTSA is just downright awful. I cannot believe how putrid it looks there for Austin Claunch. A couple of others here. Northwestern, Pumpkin, 1-6 against the spread. And then how about Youngstown? I like Ethan Faulkner. I thought I liked the Gwens coming in, but they're 1-7 in Horizon play. And then how about Sunny Wicks, 1-6 in Mountain West play. They look good at times in non-con, but I think they just don't really match up well with the size and physicality of the Mountain West. That's my sort of explanation behind that. But a few others here. Let's see. North Alabama's not been very good, surprisingly.
Horrible.
Have you been backing them? I haven't really touched them yet. Yeah,
Yes, I
Lions have been
have.
sorry. Sorry to bring it up. Okay.
I'm all
I apologize.
topsy-turvy on the ASUN this year.
And then UMKC, who is without a coach. So
Yeah.
add them to like the
I don't think he's
coach.
gone yet, or is he going to
Sorry,
be fired into the
he is
year?
coaching to the end of the year, but he will not be
Yeah.
there next year. That feels like a lame duck. Well, it is literally a sitting lame duck
It's
situation.
literally the lame duck. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
the
definition.
lamest of ducks. They lost the last 8 minutes last game by 25 points. It was like it went from to oh my god in a matter of seconds. So I think you'll see a lot of that trend down the stretch for that team. So final takes, fellas, before we sign it off here.
The one I want to mention is Florida because I thought they were a little undervalued coming into the SEC. They just got it done at Vanderbilt. Now, I think the spot this week is a little shaky for them because they got that win at Vanderbilt. LSU, who knows what's going to happen with Deaton Thomas if he's going to play. But I wanted to highlight them because Florida, it was, I thought, a really good buy low coming to the SEC. And that was one that I think people can probably keep backing as they go because it's a sustainable style with the rebounding they do. On the flip side, I love that you mentioned UTSA, Matthew, because also Ofer in conference play is Memphis, and those two are playing as we are recording this particular podcast. So for the listeners right now, Memphis was laying like 20 points to UTSA. Memphis is probably the worst big favorite in the entire country when Penny Hardaway's in charge. And I still didn't have the balls to back UTSA because that team is so horrendous right now. I just cannot advise anything besides fade UTSA. The team is like kind of quit, and I think Claunch is maybe ready to be back on Nate Oates' staff. So I would say avoid the Roadrunners at all costs. To recap my picks, I will start that, Ky, and I'll pass it to you after. The three headliners: Arkansas, Texas Tech, Missouri, all lines right around pick. I take them to -1 on all of them. So I'm going to back those three. NC State +4 and a little bit of money line at Clemson. I think the Wolfpack get off the mat after that disgusting home performance against Georgia Tech. Seton Hall +8 or +9. I take it down to 7 against St. John's. I feel like I've been kind of the St. John's drum beater, or one of them. Kai, I think you have too. But it's a good matchup for Hall. I think it's a big number for Hall. I love Holloway as a dog, so I'll take that. I'll take the gross Kent State +2 against Miami of Ohio. I know that's nerve-wracking against the Red Hawks the way they've been playing, but I think it's the perfect spot for them to mess up and take a little bit of a step off the straight and narrow there. Colorado State -20, Air Force is a mess, and Iowa State -13 up to 14 or 15. Off of 2 road losses, top 10 team back home against erratic UCF. I like the Cyclones. So to you, Kai, that's my batch.
I love it, Jim. Some overlaps. Texas Tech for me against Baylor. I'm taking George Mason in the capital rivalry against George Washington. I'm taking Colorado Buffs hosting Kansas, picking them off in a good spot. Seton Hall as well. Like Jim, I think that's too many points for a team that gets down and dirty on the defensive end. And Colorado State, Matthew, destroying a team with maybe the least amount of talent in all of high major basketball.
I wouldn't argue that. I only have three. I'm gonna stay away from Seton Hall. I just feel like it just the more I thought which I like the Johnnies too much. I'm not just not gonna fade them right now. They've just been kind of on a mission. I'm going Arkansas as discussed, St. Joe's as discussed earlier, and then Iowa State I think is my favorite bet on the board. So that's all we have. Thank you again for stopping by. We'll be back same time next week on a BBOC Monday, Tuesday action brought to you by Three Man Weave. Thank you again, and good luck on all your wagers.